Welcome to Algebra 1, Section 11.4, Adding and Subtracting Rational Expressions. Adding and subtracting rational expressions is the same as adding and subtracting regular fractions. You always need that's it, common denominator. And here are the steps to do this. If it's helpful, cut this out and put it in your agenda. Let's go through the steps. Step 1, get a common denominator. Step 2, add or subtract only your numerators. Step 3, combine like terms. And step 4, factor, cancel out what the numerator and denominator have in common, and then simplify. So here we have an example. As you can see, we've got step 1 done. We have a common denominator. Step 2, add or subtract the numerators. Well, in this case, we're going to add the numerator since we have a plus sign here. So we're going to have 5 plus x minus 5 over our common denominator. Combine like terms. Well, in this case, our constants are alike, and they cancel each other out. 5 minus 5 is 0. So our answer is x over x. We can factor. X goes into here one time, x goes into here one time, so my answer is 1. Here's another example. Again, we already have our common denominator, so we're going to add or subtract our numerators. Now in this case, we have a negative here. So our numerator is going to be 4x minus the quantity x minus 2. Now it's really important to keep those in parentheses right now. And the reason is because this negative needs to distribute to each of these. So this becomes 4x minus x plus 2 over 3x squared minus x minus 2. Do you see how this distributed to this x and made this negative 2 into a positive 2? Now we're going to go ahead and factor. And then our last step is to simplify. And we can do that by canceling out what factor the numerator and denominator both have. So our final answer will be 4x plus 2 over 3x plus 2. Here is a case where we do not have a common denominator. So to get a common denominator, what you want to do is you want to factor each of the denominators. So 6x is 2 times 3 times x. 8x squared is 2 times 2 times 2 times x times x. Now if you don't know where I got that, take a moment and pause the video to make sure you understand where all those came from. Once you understand where they came from, look at what's in common. They both have a 2, they both have an x. So we know our common denominator is going to have a 2 and an x. Now it's also going to have this 3, this 2, this 2, and this remaining x. So our lowest common denominator, our LCD, is going to be 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times x times x. So our lowest common denominator is 24x squared. So we take our common denominator of 24x squared and we put it under both denominators. And then we have to look at what is happening to our denominators. To get 6x to be 24x squared, I need to multiply it by this 4x. So what I do to the denominator, I need to do the numerator. So this becomes 28x. Think about how I got that. To make 8x squared into 24x squared, I need to multiply by 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. So my common denominator is 24x squared, and then I add my numerator. Since there is nothing to factor and no canceling to be done, this is our answer. If you are unable to find a common denominator on your own, or just can't figure it out, you can always multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. Let's try one of those. In this case, our fractions have a denominator of x and x plus 6. Now there are no commonalities, so the lowest common denominator is simply x times x plus 6. That's the lowest common denominator. As you can see, our common denominator now is x times x plus 6. To get our x to be x times x plus 6, we need to multiply it by x plus 6. What I do to the denominator, I must do the numerator. So my numerator is going to become x plus 2, that quantity, times the quantity x plus 6. And for the second fraction, you can see that I have multiplied x plus 6 times x to get x times x plus 6. I must also do that to our numerator. So that's 12 times x. So when I combine these, my denominator will be x times x plus 6, and my numerator will be x plus 2 times x plus 6 minus 12x. Now, I'm going to have to multiply this out using either FOIL or box method to be able to subtract 12x from it. So that would be my next step. So as you can see, I multiplied it out. So I've got x squared plus 8x plus 12 minus 12x. So when I put that together, I'm going to have x squared, and then my middle term, when I combine positive 8x minus 12x, will be negative 4x plus 12. Now I'm going to go ahead and factor this again. As you can see, we come really, really close to being able to factor these out, but because this is a negative and this is a positive, we cannot do that. So this is our final answer. That's it for this video. Please do this lesson check. Bring any questions you have with you tomorrow, and I will see you in class.